Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. These guys have been fantastic sponsors of the Postcast all year long. An amazing Cincinnati brewery, some good stuff. Always love swinging by the tap room there and grabbing a 4-pack, a 6-pack to go. It's a great operation they've got over there in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood. And the tap room always has different events. This week, it's a sports heavy week. Of course it is, right? You've got Queen City Fulham watch party on September 14th. They are watching Fulham versus West Ham. And later that evening, it is, no, not in the evening. That is an afternoon game. You've got UC football. That would not be an evening game. UC football versus Miami Bearcats and Red Hawks. That kicks off at noon. And you can check them all out over at Streetside. They've got live music later in that evening as well from 3 to 6, Josh Ferreira. It's a good time to grab a drink, hang out with friends. Dogs are allowed out on the patio. They always have food trucks out there. Right now, Fire Up Pizza is going to be around. It's a really good time. And hey, while you're there, tell them the Cincy Postcast sent you, and they'll knock $1 off of your beer. Each beer that you have there, again, mention the Postcast, mention the podcast. They'll knock $1 off of your beer. So you get to have some great beers, enjoy some cool events going on at the tap room, and you get to do it a little bit cheaper for them showing some love to the Postcast. So thank you, a huge thank you to Streetside Brewery for sponsoring this and so many other episodes of the Postcast. Oh, and on this episode, does it get a little unhinged? You be the judge. There's not a ton happening in the FC Cincinnati world. Maybe one of the quietest periods of time in FC Cincinnati history since they were founded. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, I'll tell you what, this week is hell is real. So this coming week is going to be anything but quiet. There is still plenty going on in and around MLS, the league, some interesting comments in New England, some really funny goalkeeping shenanigans going on with Columbus. The U.S. men's national team comes to town. So much more to talk about. In part 2, it's a little in the 11, out of the 18. I don't know that you're prepared for this episode of the Postcast, but here it is anyway. And joining me once again, feels good to be back in the saddle.
Welcome back,
Chief.
Welcome back. We missed you. We missed you.
I missed you.
Do you want to update the people as to where you were? I heard it was truly magical.
Oh, that's true. So much like last year, this year we went back to the old Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, the greater Orlando area, I should say. This was not on our radar to start the year. This is not something I intended to go back to for some time. But the mouse needs visitors, Chief. And the Walt Disney Company was offering free food if we came to stay. And I got to tell you, with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, that's pretty tempting.
It's like anything to avoid grocery prices today. I'll actually go to Disney World to avoid having to pay Kroger for groceries.
Yeah, I should have priced that in. We might have come out ahead on the week, not having to buy groceries.
Many people are noting. So they're turning into Vegas now, where Vegas offers you comps every so often, saying, "Hey, right. We haven't seen you in a while. How would you like to have 3 free hotel rooms at Harrah's Casino?" God. And you think to yourself, no, I've seen that hotel. I don't know that I want to stay there overnight.
That would be so good. I assume that's what's happening here, because they saw oh, this is a high souvenir family. We need to get them back into these parks quickly.
It wouldn't shock me if they actually track that when you show, because don't you have to have those bands that you do everything with when you're there?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, so they're probably tracking every single thing you do, and they know, okay, they have a kid that's this age, they have a kid that's this age. They did this when they were at the park. They live in this part of Cincinnati. Therefore, based on all of our analytics, our algorithm determines they're probably very, very likely to buy lots of extra stuff while they're down here. Let's get them down. Come on. Come on. They love it down here. Bring them down. Whatever we can do.
Let me tell you, those bands are cool, and like you definitely see the Blade Runner dystopian future that they could unlock for us, because there's a couple of rides where you ride the ride and afterwards in the app it says, hey, here's your photo from the ride. But when you leave the ride, there is no way for you to say like, oh yeah, that was me. That's me. And like you confirm that that's your identity, and it knows. It is some combination of like location tracking or NFC tracking with the band and facial recognition.
Yeah. Yeah. The mouse has this all figured out. They know what you look like. They know your likes. They know your dislikes. The next time you go down, you're going to check into the hotel. It's like, welcome back, Kevin. We've prepared your favorite meal to be ordered by room service right now.
I mean, you start syncing up like Disney Plus watch history, and they could like put merchandise of like certain characters to the front of certain stores if they can corral like more Star Wars fans in one spot of the park or whatever.
This isn't Blade Runner. This is Minority Report, where Tom Cruise is walking through the mall and like the shops are shouting at his name because they're scanning his retina as he walks by.
That's almost literally what is happening there. So
I'm kind of excited about that, because I feel like life, that like everyone talks about, that we live in this hellscape right now.
Yeah.
But like we're not full dystopia. We're like half dystopia.
Right.
We're not the fun part of dystopia, where, your eyes are being scanned and they're shouting advertisements at you, or there are like giant hologram ads that are obtrusively everywhere. There's no flying cars, like all the fun parts of dystopia, the robots that are, wandering around aimlessly in the middle of the night. That would be the fun part. We just get the boring shit. Like Walt Disney World knows what your face looks like when you're on Splash Mountain
and tries to sell you a Lilo and Stitch stuffed animal or whatever, like,
or they just send it to you and it's like it's on you to return it before you. We've pre-purchased a lightsaber for you. If you don't want it, make sure that you turn it back in on the other side of the park.
Right. God. Here's an errand. How much will you pay to not do it?
Well, did you have a good time? The kids have a good time. Everybody had a good time?
Ultimately, it was a good time. I know for some people that is like their nightmare, but it's a good time, especially when you're like seeing it through the eyes of your kids, not to get like all sentimental, but like they're having the time of their lives. It's a good time to see that. And then of course, like they're at that awkward age where like they want things and they don't really have a concept of money. And so like having to explain like, no, this is like really special that you get to do this. Cause like our 4-year-old is immediately like, oh, I want to have my birthday here. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
This is not, no, we need to have a conversation about this.
I'm gonna have all my friends here. No, you're not, bud. That's just not gonna happen.
No, it's probably a good bet you're not coming here for another 5-6 years. So
yeah, I'm gonna need you to
calm down a little bit here.
To be shaving before we get back down here.
Either that, or you need to get real popular on social media and really start generating some impressions here.
Man, let me tell you, the sort of influencer in the wild is off the charts.
See, why weren't we documenting it? Why didn't I get any texts from you about this? This is the stuff I love right here.
I know. I thought about taking photos of influencers. I thought about doing post content. But honestly, like, if anybody has been down there recently, they know this struggle. If you haven't, let me tell you, the struggle these days with a Disney trip is you spend so much time on your phone trying to manage the trip via the app that, like, you gotta hang on to every single percentage point of battery that your phone is able to offer, because if it dies, like dining reservations die with it, your room key dies with it.
Oh,
like,
you starve and you're homeless if your phone dies. That's the dystopian future right there. We're sorry, Kevin. You're no longer welcome at the resort. Your phone has run out of power.
Oh, you gotta play the lightning lane multi-pass lotteries and stand in the virtual queues. It's a whole mess if you've not gone down this rabbit hole. I apologize. I was a bad content creator in Florida. Yeah. That's fair to say.
Chief's sister is the Disney person in the family. I have not been since I was 10-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So it's been a minute. More than a minute, I would say. None of those things were real. Everybody just waited in line like a normal goober back then.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's very different. But we were bad parents. We figured first grade's probably the last time we could pull a kid out of school, and it probably won't cause any long-term damage to her education. And so,
good for you.
Hey, look, crowds virtually non-existent the week of Labor Day. So that was great.
See, hold on. I respect that. I respect this idea, because this always bothers me where you'll see this pop up. We're almost in this season, actually. Mm-hmm. It's officially, I always remember it as an October and a World Series issue, that when the baseball World Series is being played, you get some curmudgeon with a blue check or who writes for a newspaper that says, "Here we go again. This game isn't starting till after 8. Kids are going to bed before this game is done. This is not how you grow the game." Man, my parents just let me stay up for the World Series. It's not going to kill a kid every now and then to stay up to watch a game that's late. Spoiler alert, when you're a kid, that's awesome when you get to stay up past bedtime.
It's the best day.
Yeah, it's not going to kill a kid to be out of school for a couple of days to go to Disney. I mean, come on. Like, this is... Yeah. It's like people forget how awesome this shit was when they were growing up.
Right. Like, obviously don't want to abuse it, but like, you know,
once a year, once or twice every so often.
They're going to remember the Disney trip far more than what ended up being the second week of school. Nothing's happening the second week of school. No. We'll be okay.
No. Well, that's great. You miss nothing while you were gone.
You know, that's kind of the concerning part. Part of it was like a little bit of a social media cleanse for your boy. And I was excited to sort of back read, see what's going on. There was nothing. There was nothing going on.
This has been the deadest international break. Deadest period for FC Cincinnati I think I can ever remember.
We've had...
There's no rumors because the transfer window's closed.
Right.
No one is... Everyone that's hurt is hurt long term. So there's no real updates. I guess Yamil Assad came back to training.
Like the first day of this break. So.
Right. There's nothing going on. It's quiet. It's too quiet almost.
Is it good? Let's start there, Chief. Is it good that there's nothing going on?
I guess. I don't know. Like what would possibly be going on right now that would be good if it was going on?
You know, if they hadn't
other than like Matt Miazga's ACL magically healing in a medical miracle. Like, I don't know. That would be good. That would be big news. But what can
Marco
happen right now?
Angulo is tearing it up in Ecuador, and I don't even think we can add him back. Like,
no.
I think he's been missed. Yeah, like I think the key here is that the Montreal game was a pretty decisive victory, right? And so I think if that was a loss, I think you'd want a lot more stories of like they're retooling the team, they're retooling the offense, they're retooling the defense, you know, Noonan's giving them the hair dryer, you know, whatever it is. And they seem to have gotten that all out of the way with Montreal. So I think we're okay now.
They're back on the winning side. The losing streak in league play is over. They went into break looking okay.
Yeah.
You know, the only lingering question is the health of Lucho Acosta. We ain't getting any news on that right now. Like, that's no updates on that. They can't sign anyone. They can't bring anyone in. Windows closed. They don't open training. So it's not like you're going to get great footage or great information from Mercy Health training. That ain't happening. So, yeah, I don't know. You would think, though, this league, and this is like, we keep talking about this. You would think this league would want to do something to draw some attention to itself during this time, or this team would want to be a little newsy. Maybe not. Maybe the plan with all this is, look, nobody cares. It's opening weekend of the NFL. What does it matter? We'll be back next week and try and ramp things up for the rivalry week. But this team kind of went out of sight, out of mind for a week or so.
Yeah. And it's so funny, too, because the rest of Cincinnati sports at this moment, like at this moment in time, all stumbled. And you'd love to be able to point all of your non-soccer friends to FCC and go, oh, would you like a Cincinnati team that tries and is successful and has an MVP caliber player and does all of these things? And there's nothing going on right now. There's no games. There's no things. Like, this international break is so poorly timed from a buzz standpoint for FCC. It's killing me.
Not only from a poorly timed, but it's what I don't understand, and I will not understand this until they fix it, is that we have played one league game since June or July, early to mid-July.
Yeah.
So
something like that.
Yeah, we have played one league game in the span of almost 2 months. And we're in the regular season. This is allegedly the stretch run until the playoffs right here.
That's just it. This is like the stretch. So, okay. So going back, let's see. This
is live research right here. I love this.
So we have played since July 21st. We have played 2 league games. Least we forget the Miami game on August 24th.
We all forget about that, don't we? I've been trying to forget that, I should say.
Right. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches remaining. And yeah, this should be like the exciting stretch run. This should be the Supporter Shield race, which does look to be pretty well locked up by Miami at this point.
Pretty over.
But yeah, it's just there's nothing going on. And yeah, like this is actually the moment and this day, and maybe we're a part of the problem here, Chief. This should be the start of hyping the weekend matches up, starting with Hell is Real, easily the marquee game in the league. And it doesn't feel like the league can bring itself to care, let alone any of their media partners. It's so weird, isn't it?
It is. Maybe I like I said, maybe it's just because it's NFL week 1 and there's no chance anything's breaking through the zeitgeist when, at least in sports, when the NFL had a game on Thursday, Friday, full slate on Sunday, and then Monday Night Football. And oh, by the way, there was college football on Saturday. Like, maybe it's just, maybe there's nothing you can do to get people to care about matches that are happening on this particular weekend. I don't know. I'd like to see the league try. I would like to see it do something. And if Leagues Cup is going to keep being a thing, I don't know. Maybe it should go till this weekend and pull it later so that it's in this international window and you clear this international window during Leagues Cup.
There's an idea. I don't hate that.
Start it later in August and then conclude it here. And then it's a 7-week run to the postseason. But at the very least, you don't do Leagues Cup 2 matches and then you're off again. I don't know, to build at least. Nothing should break the momentum of the run to the playoffs. And I say that knowing full well that even in the playoffs, they stop for another godforsaken international window. I don't know. It
sucks too, because that September, October has an international window, November international window are the 3 windows that the world has decided are the ones that matter.
Yeah. That's when everybody's in form, because it's in the middle of the Euro calendar. And obviously the world revolves around that.
Yeah.
Is this a good time to point out too, with the Supporter Shield race being done, I do have an idea about the Supporters Shield that I want to air publicly.
Okay.
What if we didn't send them the real one? Because the Supporters Shield is a trophy that gets sent from team to team. It's like the Stanley Cup.
Yes, there's only one.
There's only one. What if we sent them a fake?
Okay.
So what if you just went and you had, instead of being made of silver and whatever the Supporters Shield is, you just got one made out of stainless steel. You got a perfect replica made up. You sent that to Miami, and then we just kept the real one here in Cincinnati forever.
So I think, one, I completely agree. Two, we're probably, whatever it is, the 20th team to think of this.
Sure.
And so what we think is the real trophy.
I was about to say, and the fact that we're having this conversation, doesn't that kind of indicate we probably don't have the real one already?
This is like the, when you really break it down, it's more likely we live in a simulation than we don't.
Yeah. And then you watch like anything about how AI is going. It's like, oh yeah, no, definitely we're being simulated. That's not even a chance in hell.
Right. I am a sim.
Right. I'm an NPC in someone's elaborate game.
I love it. But what if we sent the, as a non-season ticket holder, allegedly season ticket holders got tiny little replica shields. Spoiler alert. Apparently people get upset about that. We send that. That is what we sent.
No, we had the idea earlier in the year. I don't know if we talked about it on here about doing a video where it looked like we were melting down the Supporters Shield to make a better trophy, just to see what the reaction would be online.
I like that.
There's this rumor out there, or there's this thing that I read one time, that the vast majority of artwork that's on display are fakes or forgeries or copies.
Ooh, okay.
And that the real ones are held in collections or they've been lost for years. And because the forgeries have been in place of the real art for so long that no one really knows what the real art looks like. They've just been looking at forgeries the entire time.
I like this.
Yeah. So number one, is the Supporters Shield real? And number two, if it is, I say we keep it.
Yeah, I say we keep it. And I say we send like a kind of obvious fake, like a wooden one that's painted to Miami, and be like,
it just says it's always been wooden. Sharpie marker on
it. It's always been wooden. Have you guys never won this before? Yeah, we
thought it was a lot heavier.
That's the joke
What's
that
this?
we all tell each other.
And the real one just stays like on display in Carl Linder's secret villain underground bunker.
It's on the private jet. That's what they used to recruit all the players with.
Right. Or it's like at the end of Indiana Jones. It's being put into the basement of the Great American Tower. It's like, where's the Supporters Shield? We have top men working on it. Who?
Yeah.
Top
it's
men.
next to the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. That's where the Supporters Shield is.
Because I don't want to send Miami that. I don't want them to have this. That's bullshit. This is nonsense.
Yeah. It is sad to think that at the
the
beginning
race
of
is
this,
over. Like, functionally.
At the beginning of this year, there was so much. And Chief, you were more involved with this than almost anybody else, but the politicking of where's the shield going to be? Who's going to hold the shield? And where's the shield going to appear next? Which group gets the shield? And now we may only have a couple of weeks left with the shield. Do we need to have a going away party?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe we do need to have a going away party. Like have it like take a photo in Washington Park with everyone possible. Like, hey, we're going to have the march there. We're going to have every fan there. We're going to try and take the biggest photo with the Supporters Shield possible.
Yes. So the obvious one would be Hell It's Real this weekend, but I don't want to celebrate a trophy leaving us before we play Columbus.
We could also do the whole what Stone Cold Steve Austin did with the title belt and just toss it in the river. That would be like take it to the Brent Spence Bridge and just throw it over into the river. If we can't have it, no one can have it.
I mean, that is the perfect opportunity to have a fake and throw it and just stir up controversy. have Carl pay for a police dive team to go find a fake trophy at the bottom of the river.
You're never going to find that at the bottom of the
Ohio. one little layer of silt lays on top and it's gone forever.
Right. No, you're more likely to find city council cell phones down there than you are to find the supporter shield.
Oh my God, it's the Gang of Five text logs right here.
It's like, this says Jeff Pastor on it. What's going on here? And it's next to a bag of cash. What? Yeah.
Damn.
Miami's got it wrapped up. 59 points with 7 matches to play. And they are up 7 points. Game in hand over LA. It's done.
It would be a epic collapse if they did not win this. Like, something will have had to have gone horribly wrong for them.
Yeah.
And, Columbus this whole time has been, they got games in hand. They got games in hand.
You got to win the games in hand. Like, that's the whole point. Like, games in hand are fun. You got to win them, though.
Yeah. Those games in hand have pretty well disappeared at this point. Like, even if they win their game in hand, they only go 1 point clear of us. So, like, there was this idea that they're like, doing so much better than us. Just wait until the games in hands catch up. And
is now a good time to talk about Columbus? Because
let's talk about Columbus.
This weekend.
There's a couple of things going on.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of FC Cincinnati news, but boy, was it a newsy sort of weekend for the rest of MLS. Columbus Crew plays the Seattle Sounders yesterday over the weekend as you listen to this. And as a result of that game, they lose 4-0, but it was a rather interesting 4-0. With the match at 0-0, 0-0 in the first half, their keeper is sent off with a straight red, which you don't usually see the goalkeeper sent off. Funny story, Kevin. Maybe you can answer this for the people. Surely they had a backup keeper on the roster for this match, right?
Oh, we've seen FC Cincinnati carry 2 backup keepers into matches before.
Yeah. Couldn't imagine not having any backups. Did they have a backup goalkeeper in this match, Kevin?
Sure didn't.
So, in this game, they have to sub on a outfield player to play goalkeeper. And
so good.
It goes about as well as you'd think.
Not only do they lose 4-0, but the first touch of the ball with him in goal is a goal.
Yeah.
The ensuing free kick off of the red card foul is scored by Albert Rusnak. And Tom Bogert had a great write-up on the poorly named GiveMeSport.com.
Give me sport or give me death.
But had a quote from Rusnak who said, "I felt a little more pressure taking the free kick than if an actual goalkeeper was in goal," which I really appreciate.
No, it was we were bullshitting about it at having drinks this weekend. Me and a couple friends, we saw this and we compared it to what I consider to be the pinnacle of watching bad sports. And that is when you are watching a baseball game that is an utter blowout and they bring in the position player to pitch.
Yes.
Where they, the shortstop or somebody that's got a decent arm. And when a position player is pitching, boy, is it embarrassing if you strike out.
Right.
Like, you better get some contact on this dude that never otherwise pitches.
But what's funny about that is yes, completely agree. And it's always funny, especially when a game goes super late into extra innings and they want to save starters and they want to save the bullpen or they maybe burn through everybody, right? But the one difference there is virtually every Major League Baseball player grew up pitching. Like they've all were the best pitcher on their team, maybe even the best pitcher on their college team.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: anybody that plays baseball in the major leagues was probably both the pitcher and the shortstop on their team, depending on situation.
Right. So they at least know the fundamentals, and sure they can't pitch at Major League Baseball speeds, but good luck getting a hit, you or I, any person off the street getting a hit off of one of these guys versus a midfielder who maybe hasn't played keeper outside of middle school or whatever. Like, it's been a long time since that guy's put on gloves and got between the sticks. So, yeah, that's always fun.
The next time we have a coach on or somebody from the FC on, I really do want to know, do they practice ever having these players, like somebody, like the emergency, everything has gone wrong. Yeah. There was a fight. 7 people got sent off. We have no goalkeepers. Who is our emergency? There's a flu bug that goes to the keeper's room. Who is the emergency goalkeeper? Do they have it? Do they practice this?
They have to have the name, right? Like, even if, so the more common situation is you've used all your subs and the keeper gets hurt or maybe sent off, right? Now you have to have somebody. It has to be somebody on the field. I mean, you've got to have a name already in mind. And we all know who that is for FCC.
Yeah. Tommy G asked this question last night. And the answer is there were a couple different names given, but it was 80% Yuya Kubo.
Of course.
Of course it was. Of course it was Yuya Kubo.
I'm going to mess up the name. Zawadski?
Yeah, I think Sean Zawadski.
Sean Zawadski. So apparently Zawadski, not a huge follower of Columbus. He's sort of their Yuya Kubo, which is, I think, how he ended up there. He's sort of the versatile midfielder who's filled in at all of the positions throughout the course of the year. So yeah, I think that's the utility guy on the team is, I think, who ends up being the goalkeeper.
I now need to know. All right, if you are able to answer this question for me, I'm not going to say who this is directed to. DMs are open.
Yes.
Does Yuya Kubo believe that he could stop a PK from Yuya Kubo?
We did. Ooh, that's a good question. We did ask Kubo if he would ever want to play goalkeeper. He did say no.
No, he doesn't want to. That's not the point
There's
here.
a difference.
Yeah. Does Yuya Kubo believe he could save a Yuya Kubo penalty?
You gotta hope he says no.
But he would know which direction he's going.
Well, for the social media team, I think that's a good question to put on the whiteboard as they come into training this week. Right. Who on the team is the emergency goalkeeper? Who, I don't know how you phrase it more succinctly, but yeah.
Which non-goalkeeper, life on the line, which non-goalkeeper would you bet on to get a stop on a PK?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Man. Damn.
And the answer is still Yuya Kubo. It's
So here's a little bit of the controversy with the Columbus Crew. So they have 2 goalkeepers with their Columbus Crew 2. Crew 2. And the thing is, you're only allowed 4 like temporary call-ups throughout the course of the year, and they've used all 4 call-ups with both of these guys already. Now, part of that is CONCACAF competitions, like apparently the Champions Cup requires 2 goalkeepers on the bench, and through a couple of different matches they've needed those guys to sit on the bench. But one of the times they burned one of these call-ups was for a friendly versus Aston Villa, which, all right, fair. The friendly probably shouldn't count. But it does.
And you got to know the rules on that.
Come on, guys.
The only thing I don't know before I can criticize the Crew for their roster management any number of ways from this. And it's funny because it's rare that roster management directly results in you losing 3 points. This roster management directly resulted in them losing 3 points. Now, they were down a man for 45 minutes where you think maybe that Seattle can do something, but Seattle was also on the road. It was in Columbus, I believe, this game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So this was a rescheduled game, I believe, that had to be rescheduled because Crew advanced to the CONCACAF Champions League finals, right?
Yeah. So they originally, like us, had opted not to play during the international break. However, with the schedule congestion, MLS went ahead and flexed this in. Their 2 main goalkeepers, Schulte and the other one, were called up for their national team. Schulte with the U.S. and the other with Guatemala. Yes.
Yeah. So not to give the crew their due, not by no means to say you got to hand it to ISIL here. It is bullshit that they had opted out of playing in the international window. They're now forced to play in the international window. This is one where the league should have said, yes, you have the option because we have forced you to play when you otherwise were not planning to have to play. We will give you the option for relief with a short-term call-up. Now, this is the part where I wish Grayson was around, because the problem I suspect that the league was in here is that the short-term roster stuff, I think, is controlled by the CBA. I don't think it's league rules. I think it's in part controlled by the CBA. And I think the players union doesn't like these short-term call-ups. I think that the league would be perfectly fine having more short-term call-ups, but every time you do a short-term call-up, you're not using a player potentially, or having a player on the 18 that is a full member of the MLSPA. So yeah, you can imagine a situation, and I'm sure there's so many things wrong with this analogy, but like a school that has problems with its teachers union just going ahead and filling out all of the classes with substitutes. Like, oh, they're all just long-term subs. It's okay. We're just going to use a sub for your class and a sub for your class and a sub for your class. And they're just here for like 2-3 years. Like, no big deal. It's like all of a sudden you don't have any union players actually playing these games. Yeah, that is what they're protecting against. Yeah, we're not gonna replace when this chemistry teacher retires. We're just going to keep giving substitute teachers teach this one class, and now the union membership is down by one. Yeah, and that's a job that should have gone to somebody else who would be a dues paying member. Yeah, no, it's it's hard to be mad at the crew on this one if you're a crew fan, just because they never wanted to, like us, they don't want to play during international windows. They are a team that carries a lot of players that have international experience, that play international football. You put them in a situation where they had to do this, and lo and behold, they're not prepared to do it. Like, they fucked them on this. The league did, I think. But I love it.
I mean, not complaining.
No,
in
it's
this
phenomenal.
Case. I also think, lost in all of this, I feel like more blame needs to go on their goalkeeper, Romero, on this one. Like, there are no other goalkeepers. You gotta play conservative here, buddy. You cannot. The one thing you cannot do is go out and get a red card. Yeah. Do literally anything else. Give up the goal in this case would have been better than to have gotten the red card.
Now we say that full well with Ian and Miles. You had one job to do in the last game. Just don't get a yellow card before the big. And yet here they find themselves. Here we find ourselves.
Well, on some level, there was no avoiding it with how referees are in this league. Just ask old Caleb Porter about that.
How about that? Maybe we'll go there next in terms of our trip around Major League Soccer. Boy, Caleb had some thoughts about league officiating.
So good. Just reading some of the transcript from this was a little cathartic. Like, I didn't watch the game. I honestly don't even know what the calls that he's talking about. But the thing here, like the top line takeaway, calling the referees cowards was so good.
Yeah, he did the other thing too that you rarely see, and that's that in his press conference he referenced the commissioner by his government name. Yeah. Saying, if Don Garber wants to find me, Don Garber can find me. Not the commissioner. Gonna call the man out by his name.
Two really important points, and I'm not going to stand for it. I don't care if I get fined. I don't care what Don Garber says. What Don Garber needs to do is look at that situation, look at the official in that situation, and needs to hold this official accountable. I'm going to continue reading here because it's so good here, this next part. And then the second part of the joke show, clown show, was giving us a penalty for not getting out of the game. Luke was coming out of the game because he was injured, but we want guys to literally, he couldn't sprint any faster to get out of the game. He couldn't get out of the game any faster. Initially, he walked, yes, but then he sprinted out of the game as fast as he could. The referee told me it was 14 seconds. 14 seconds it took him to get out of the game. So because he's 4 seconds late, because he can't sprint any faster, they penalize us, and we end up giving up an away goal during that penalty. The game isn't meant to be played this way. It's an absolute joke. Wow.
Is this referee abuse right here?
You know,
where's Pro's cryptic tweet on this one?
Jeez, Pete. It is telling that, like, we talked about the popularity of the NFL, and I am not original in this take, but like the NFL referees get abuse all day long, every day on every major media outlet. These referees become household celebrities for all of the worst reasons and wrong reasons. And then they're just like, they carry on, they power through, and the NFL tries their best to like legislate around it. They have one of the most complex, in-game rule books of any sport imaginable. It makes the Cones of Dunshire look fairly simple by comparison. Just ask any fan of the NFL to define what a catch is, and it will make D&D look so much easier.
Did you watch by any chance the game in Brazil that they played on Friday?
I did not.
So they have this. So the whole thing with the NFL this year is that every year, if you're not an American football fan, if you're not an NFL fan, first off, I'm sorry. Like, you're missing out. Soccer's great. The NFL is equally as great, but for completely different reasons. But every year in the NFL, they have a new point of emphasis for the officials. And what that means is we haven't changed the rules, but we're trying to make it different how we are enforcing the rules.
Oh, that feels good.
Yeah. Or it's that, this is the rule, but it's kind of over the years gone unenforced the right way. And we're going to start tightening up how we call this. And the one this year is illegal formation penalties for the offensive line. Okay. So there's the offensive linemen are all supposed to be on the line of scrimmage. If you're off the line of scrimmage, you have to be reported as an eligible wide receiver, and you can't end the formation with someone off the line of scrimmage because, again, Cones of Dunshire. Right. But over the years, if you notice the offensive lines, they've slowly become sort of like a V with the players on the outside being a little further back to help get a step on the defenders that are getting faster and faster. And the NFL was like, no. That is illegal, and we're going to start calling this if you're not in line with the rule book. So they send 2 teams down to Brazil to try and grow the fan base of the NFL and show them what this great sport is that they should be getting more into, and then proceed to throw 1,000 flags, blowing plays dead and calling plays back because this lineman is 2 feet too far off the line of scrimmage to start the play, and we're just going to nullify everything that happens. We're going to go back and move him back 5 yards. And all I could think of was, this is not the advertisement you're looking for. And maybe we start the point of emphasis after everyone goes to Brazil to celebrate the game. Like,
right. Not the international game. It's just not the one to try this with.
The international game, they should have told the officials, you know what, just keep it in the pocket. People are just looking to have a good time here.
especially Brazil, like the national stereotype of Brazilian soccer is the free flowing, the beautiful game. Everything is it's like watching jazz, played out with all of these humans running around. It's such a spectacle. And then to have that version of the NFL.
We have a point of emphasis this year, and damn it, we're going to throw flags until the behavior improves.
Well, no, you see the 8th giant man down there was standing just a hair too far away from, so it's an imaginary line.
Right. So you have to imagine a line where the ball is, and then there's a 1 yard zone in between the front and the back, which is the neutral zone. And
hopefully
whenever anyone tells me they can't, soccer is too complex to understand, I'm like, brother, if you've been following pro football for more than 20 minutes, you already have the brain power necessary to understand how soccer works.
Right. Well, you see, they came out in a dime package, which doesn't really work with their linebackers in this. Yeah, it's like it's instantly more complicated.
He's got inside leverage on this play, and he passes off the responsibility to the deep safety. But in this cover 2 formation, there's a window right here between the cornerback and the deep safety, and you got to look the safety off before. It's like, okay, calm down, Tony Romo. We can all get through this together.
Oh, God.
But if they can officiate that game, we can officiate soccer. We can, you can do better.
So the thing is, I kind of forgot why I got down that track. But like, the NFL referees aren't crying on Twitter every day about how mean everybody is. That like there's this assumed idea that like, oh yeah, people really care about this, and they care quite a bit about this, in fact, and they want to love this sport, and they want to watch it, and they feel passionately about it. And sometimes people are going to say stupid things. And oh yeah, the coaches and players that we are officiating, this is their lives. Like, this is their careers. And if we incorrectly call something, or even if we call it correctly, but they disagree with it, they can be fired. And I'm probably going to be an official for another 10 years. Like, the NFL and the MLS, the difference there, unbelievable.
Yeah. And like, I get on MLS for trying to be the NFL too much. They should absolutely adopt the attitude of the NFL when it comes to officiating. 100%. On these NFL games, they have the replay former retired official in the booth to criticize the officiating on the broadcast.
And we've had some of that. It's actually, it's a shame again that Grayson's not here. One of Grayson's favorite people is the Dr. Joe, who shows up for Fox broadcasts.
Right, who's a leisure sciences PhD or something like that.
It's not clear that he was ever a referee.
Or that he's a doctor. I don't think this man's ever treated a patient once in his life.
He's a doctor of leisure sports. It's so funny. But yeah, like they've tried it a little bit, but then they've rolled out Christina Uncle to criticize the referees, which is so funny because she's married to one of them and probably not going to go too hard on them. Very weird.
Yeah. I don't know. They should have a fan in the broadcast booth that just criticizes the officials. Like, here to analyze that call is Kevin from the Post. Kevin, what do you think? What the fuck is this guy seeing?
I mean, again, going back to like the what is a catch or was this a penalty? It would be really funny to have a random sampling of like 50 fans. You can take a vote, and if it's like 80% a penalty, they're like, yeah, then like most of the fans think this is a penalty, so let's just go with this.
It's gold. You know what I hate about this weekend, though, more than anything else with this, is that I'm forced to give credit to Caleb Porter and the Columbus Crew. That I find myself in agreement with both of them right now.
It's just an absolute nightmare situation for us.
Nightmare blunt rotation right here between these two. Speaking of nightmares, how about your U.S. men's national team there, Kevin? Do you want to defend your boys here for their performance this week?
No, but I can only say, I guess eventually Pochettino will show up. Maybe, probably.
So the U.S. men's national team, they play, I guess this isn't a friendly. This is Nations League, right? Or is it a friendly? I don't even know anymore what's real and what's not.
I don't. Then it's like, it's so funny because like Nations League doesn't count right up until like
and if it's a friendly, why are we playing a friendly with a CONCACAF? I don't. This is whatever it is. The U.S. men's national team loses to our neighbors to the north, Canada. Shout out our Canadian listener. Carter, lose 2-1. Jesse Marsch takes the victory over the nation that spurned him, They turned their back on him. This team, the traveling roadshow, comes to TQL Stadium on Tuesday, I believe, still without a manager. There are rumors abounding that Pochettino is supposed to meet the national team, the players, here in Cincinnati. Where are we at on this team? And Kevin, are you asking the people to start stalking hotels looking to find Poch and see if he's actually in Cincinnati this week?
I would love to know if he's in Cincinnati. That would be really funny. I also really want to know if he has a conversation with Lucho Acosta. That's what I really want to know. I want to know where that relationship is, because I would really like Lucho Acosta to play for this team. I think at some point we all need to come to grips with the fact that this U.S. men's national team isn't as good as we want it to be. That's just
you
where
say
I
that, but apparently I'm not a fan of this. I'm like probably the only person in America that doesn't watch this. But apparently on the Hot Ones show, David Beckham did say he expects the United States to win a World Cup at some point.
I mean, assuming we continue to have World Cups and nations, yes, I think we can eventually get one
like
over
on a
the
long
course.
enough timeline.
Yeah, like 400 years of World Cups. I bet we sneak one in there somewhere.
I think it's even money we're making another 40 as a civilization.
That's a good question. How many more World Cups will there be? That's a really fun question. According to Chief, 10. We've got 10 more in us.
I'm not telling you to plan ahead, but plan ahead if you want to see one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's funny that Schulte was in goal for this.
Yeah.
That's kind of my big takeaway here.
His team gets curb stomped because he's not available for selection. I guess it's weird. So they're coming to town on Tuesday. First off, I guess the threshold question is, on a scale of 1 to care, with 1 being I don't care and care being I care, do you care about this game coming up on Tuesday?
I don't care might be too high.
Yeah. Do you have tickets to this game? Are you going?
No, absolutely not. The only thing that could maybe convince me is if those pitch view tickets keep sneaking down. At a certain point, the pitch view ticket equals the price of what I would have paid for dinner. Yeah.
We get there eventually at some point where it gets down low enough and it's all of a sudden becomes much like the Disney trip. Just the food becomes the value alone right there. The soccer is just a little bit extra.
If they play a game in front of us, that's neat. I'm there for the all you can drink, all you can eat.
Just sign me up for the buffet and we'll be okay. Yeah, I don't care. All right, here's a question. If you were to find out, if they were to announce on Monday, tomorrow, that we have signed Pochettino to a contract and he will be on the sidelines managing on Tuesday, would that change your opinion about potentially wanting to attend this match?
I would make sure I watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to watch it.
It is on Tuesday, right? Do I have the date on that right?
That feels right. Yeah, I think Tuesday is correct.
Tuesday. They're playing New Zealand, I think, right? I think
they are playing Tuesday, September 10th, New Zealand. They are FIFA ranking 94th. Oh.
Hey, you know what's fun too?
What's that?
We're in round 2. I just realized this. This will be the second time this year where you will have the U.S. men's national team playing at 7:00, leading us right into a presidential debate that same night at 9.
Yes. I don't remember anything eventful happening in that last doubleheader. Can you?
No. It basically knocked out 2 leaders of America.
We lost 2 American heroes that day.
two leaders of this nation, 2 commanders and chiefs of various organizations of the United States, no longer with us as a result.
It would be very fitting then if Pochettino does make it to manage this. It would be a very fitting, it feels like a very ESPN 30 for 30 in a couple of years of like the trajectories of both of the organizations nations, as it were.
As it turns out, the only thing we can be certain of that the only loser is the United States of America on Tuesday. Why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep scheduling games on debate days? Surely someone can do something about this, right?
Does it make you more willing to go to the game if they agree to televise the debate in the stadium after the game?
Okay, you know what will get my purchase? Wait, is the Tunnel Club staying open an hour after the game? Because that might be the best place to watch the debate at, where there's an all-you-can-drink bar down there.
I wonder which way the Tunnel Club leans.
All right, if you guarantee me the Tunnel Club stays open until the end of the debate, and they have the debate on after the match, you might be able to get a couple $100 out of me for that night.
See, it'd be really funny too, because it's the USA match, so you could have them handing out red. I was gonna say bandanas, and now I'm gonna stick with it: red bandanas and blue bandanas before the game, so you could join Team Red or Team Blue.
Team Blue, yeah. If they keep the stadium open and they show the debate on the giant jumbotron behind the Bailey. And you got the Bailey singing during the as people give the
answers. there's an away sports group.
It's like with Kamala, the mighty Kamala, we're gonna win tonight. We're gonna win. We're gonna win.
This has potential. We need to speak to Dan McNally's stat.
It's like they do the FCC Vikings champ is M A G A M.
How do they not do that at Trump rallies already? Come on. That's easy engagement.
They don't have the soccer. Like, shockingly, not a huge crossover between people that drum at soccer games and Donald Trump supporters.
You know, I do wonder if protest culture in the United States has improved with soccer's proliferation as songs and chants and rhythms have improved in group settings.
Because it's awful when you go to like a union picket line. None of them have any creativity in what they're singing as they're marching around. It's
really hard to listen to any other, especially American sports event, when like the crowd is chanting defense, and it's like a big moment when the whole crowd chants defense at the same time. Right. Like, ugh. Pretty cool. We should try that in an SC game. Just start trying defense when the other team has the ball. Like go full American sports. We have to switch to offense. With the ball.
Offense. Defense.
This is just the ideas podcast for other people to do. So thank you.
I swear to God, we're not high right now. This is what happens when there's absolutely nothing to discuss with regard to the FC.
I did spend 6 hours in a car today, so it was fun. We drove. It was, God, that drive to Florida is brutal too. It just keeps going tough. On and on and on. You think you're close and you haven't hit Tennessee. Oh, that sucks. We split it up. We bit the bullet. So no, that's the only way to, as a modern American, you should be getting a hotel room and stopping for the night. There are a few pleasures in life better than I'm just done. We're getting a hotel. We're stopping and I'm going to bed. It's truly the most civilized. Did you stop at any Buc-ee's on the way? Did stop at a Buc-ee's, actually. Oh, yes. There we go. Where was that one? Somewhere in Georgia. I think we hit up one in Georgia. Not that the tracks. Kentucky one. Actually, yeah. So, yeah, we did that. We almost lost a T-shirt in Buc-ee's, and they were very nice and found the T-shirt. Oh. There's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. They have plenty of T-shirts you can buy in Buc-ee's if you needed a separate one. I am surprised they helped us find a T-shirt that was not a Buc-ee's T-shirt because they could have just pointed around. They should be the kit sponsor for at least one MLS team, and I'm mad that it's not FC Cincinnati, which is the beaver logo on the front. It'd be incredible. Where are they from? They're from Texas, right? Like, yeah, Houston or Dallas should be jumping all over this. Right. They should take less money to do that. So I'm going to put you down as a no on the U.S. national team. Jesse Marsh said he would much rather be coaching Canada than the United States right now.
Is he the pettiest man alive?
This is what happens when you hire a podcaster to be a manager.
Yeah.
He's just out there making sound bites, making content.
Just troll away, babe.
It's just the one that, like, he has to say that. Like, it would, how dumb does he look if he goes out there in that press conference and goes, you know, honestly, I really wish I was coaching the U.S. instead of Canada. How is he able to turn around and go back to his team after that?
Be like a total heel move. It's like, I hate poutine. I'd be out of here in a second if a real team offered me.
I'm coaching these losers until a real team shows up. I mean, also, for what it's worth, again, I'm just here to pander to Carter. They got a pretty good team. Like the Canadian team is pretty good. So
yeah.
Like it's not like he's coaching, I don't know, St. Kitts and Nevis, right? He's like, no, actually they're better. It's like,
no,
there's something to be said here. And, yeah, no, he wouldn't, though, is the thing. He wishes he was coaching the U.S., but he's got to be the villain now. And I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that, too. So my question for you, Kevin, is I need your predictions on the results of two events.
Okay.
Who wins USA versus New Zealand, and then who wins the debate later on that night?
I am going to say it is a draw versus New Zealand. And it's chaos in the QSMNT ranks. And who wins the debate?
I know you want to pick the Donald, but you're afraid of the repercussions.
You know, it really depends on if they keep the mics muted.
They're going to keep the mics muted. That's apparently confirmed while you were on vacation.
Oh, well, then I'm going to say the winner of the debate will be JD Vance, because they'll finally have some heat taken off of him for one night. The attention is moved elsewhere. So
it's one night, you know, the Donald and Kamala, they'll be at the podiums, and JD can do what he does best: sit back on the couch and relax.
Enjoy that lazy boy.
Enjoy that fine upholstery.
It's leatherette.
There you go. Anything else going on in the soccer world that we need to discuss, Kevin?
No, that's the problem. How did we do this for an hour? There's nothing going on. Chief, help me. I'm scrolling through the Reddit here. There's nothing going on.
Yeah. No, it's just international break. Fuck all the teams that decided to play through this. I think there should be some solidarity in MLS and just demand that we're not going to play through international breaks anymore, just because it turns into this half in, half out thing.
It is very dumb.
I do respect the fact that the Columbus Crew supporters, since this match was moved from June for their Pride Month match, they just decided, well, we're going to show our Pride Month TIFO in September.
Was the TIFO packed with this particular match's gear? Like they could have shown support during Pride Month, but that's not to say that you shouldn't support the LGBTQ plus community outside of June, right? I don't want to say the support must be confined there.
Right.
But it's very funny.
You just, you do what you got to do, I guess. At the end of the day. Don't let the schedule be your master. You master the schedule.
Yeah. Did they add their own colors to the flag though? Like, questions. Okay.
Questionable.
Last one for you, Chief. And then we'll do probably in the 11 out of the 18 to wrap this up. Nick Marcanic ties the single season USL championship scoring record with 25 goals. Do you like this? Do you hate this?
I consider it a victory for FC Cincinnati scouting. They drafted him after all.
That's a nice way to think about it.
They didn't retain his services, but they drafted him originally. The process was correct that identified him.
Promote college scouts, demote whoever's in charge of the first team. I think we've just demoted Pat Noonan and Chris Albright.
You know what? People forget he logged first team minutes for this team in 2021. Like I think he started a game or two.
He might have started game one for us.
Yeah, game one or game two. I think I recall him looking pretty good when he played. Now, Part of that's low expectations because we were coming off 2 or 3 of the worst seasons in MLS history. So I think we'd kind of forgotten what good soccer looked like, and you were reaching for anything. But yeah, I thought he had earned at least enough to stick around on a league minimum contract for a little bit.
Yeah.
Did we have FCC2 when he was around, or had they not started yet?
I don't think had started yet, or if they had, he was still like too good for them, and we actually needed him to be playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy for him though. That's cool.
Yeah. That is fun.
I consider him an alum. So that means that the single season USL championship goal scoring record is held by an FC Cincinnati alum.
He indeed started the infamous 5-0 defeat in Austin alongside Brandon Vasquez. He went 61 minutes. He had 2 shots.
Man.
And one of them, I don't know, the shot map looks insane. So I'm glad he got better.
You want to feel old now?
Oh, please.
Because that was the game he started. That means we discussed his performance in the second ever episode of the Postcast, I would imagine.
Wow. I think we did this recently, and maybe even on the last episode I was on, but that starting lineup was Alec Can in goal, Ronald Matarrita as your left back, Tyler Blackett and Jeff Cameron as your center backs, and Ray Gaddis as your right back, Alan Cruz, Junior Moreno, and Yuya Kubo, a midfield trio with Lucho Acosta ahead of him, Brandon Vasquez, and Nick Marcanic starting up top. A wild team. Opposite of them, and the only player to not get a 7.0 or better rating for Austin, Kip Keller.
Kip Keller, yeah.
Whoop.
Nope.
So yeah, look at that.
Look at
That's
us.
Fun.
Who would have guessed? Look at us now.
Dom Baji, Harrison Robledo subbed in.
So is Yuya Kubo the only player still on the roster from that team? That in the starting 11?
Alec Can.
No, he's not on the starting 11 right now.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So Yuya Kubo's the only one.
Only one. I guess Can's still on the team right now. So yeah, that would still count. Yeah.
And then on the bench, the only one on the bench, Alvis Powell. So there you go. You only got 2 players even on the roster from that team.
3, I guess, if you count old Kip.
I am forgetting one Lucho Acosta.
Oh, just him. He's been gone for so long, I forget he's on this team.
That's true. So yeah,
Sad.
There's four players plus Kip Keller over on the other side. Is there anybody on the bench for them that was interesting? No. All right, Chief, let's head on over, do in the 11 out of the 18 and call it an episode, eh?
Hey.
Before we head on over to that next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts, our dear, dear friends here at the Postcast. Believe it or not, our very first sponsor from way, way back when. And guess what? Not only are they good friends of ours, not only have they been doing FC Cincinnati gear from USL year 1, but these guys are also doing Postcast merch. That is right. We have designs up on the website right now. Search Cincy Postcast. You can find our gear on Cincy Shirts. There's also links in the description of this show. But if you don't like our stuff, and you know what, if you don't tell me about it, but that's fine. Okay, you can buy anything else off of the Cincy Shirts website or in store using promo code ThePostCincy. All one word, all caps. That will knock 10% off of your entire order. That works on Cincy Postcast shirts themselves. And you can check them out in person. They are in Oakley Hyde Park. They are in Fort Mitchell, and they are also in Loveland. You can print any shirt on demand. I know that from experience. I've been able to do it. Walk in there, ask them to make a design, any size shirt, any design. It's really, really cool setup to do it in person there in any of their 3 locations. So again, a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, dear listener, for using that promo code. Again, the Post Cincy, all one word, all caps, 10% off your next order. All right, back to the episode. All right, we are back. Chief, what's funny is this is going to be one of our shorter episodes, and it probably is still too long.
Yeah, for what we've talked about, yeah, it's absolutely too long.
But in the 11 out of the 18, because I have not posted the Patreon question yet for September, because again, I was off the grid. I was very much on the grid during my time away, but I was off the grid for all things other than the mouse. And yeah, so by the time you're listening to this, you will have the opportunity to support us on Patreon, ask your question where typically we would answer your question here, but I don't have any questions to answer. So, Chief, we're filling in our own time in the 11 out of the 18. Let's start negative. What are you going to put out of the 18 this
Out of my
episode?
18 are television advertisements, because this is the time of year where I don't spend a lot of time watching television in terms of over-the-air television. A lot of time watching streaming services, sports streaming services specifically. But this is the time of year where there's a lot of football on, a lot of NFL games you're watching. And it's one of the few times in your life now, as a consumer of entertainment, I think, where you're forced to watch all of the commercials and all of the commercial breaks. And boy, do they repeat the same ones over and over and over again. I am already sick of a half dozen different types of commercials, and it's only week 1 of the NFL and week 2 of college.
Yeah.
Just, I'm begging people. We have AI now, just a little more variety with some of these. A little more variety. I don't need to see the same Subway commercial 30 times a day. I probably saw the same Subway commercial 30 times between watching college football yesterday and watching the NFL today. And I'm begging you. 2 people I want to just beg right here. I know they're listeners to this podcast. Bernie Moreno and Sherrod Brown. Can you please come up with new material?
Right.
Look, I get it, man. I get it. He's a used car salesman that bilked his employees out of money. The other guy is letting illegals in and is supporting Bidenomics, and he's good friends with Joe Biden. Get some new material. I've seen those same 2 fucking commercials a billion times already. Something else. Just, change the music. Like, use a different font. Do something different, because I can only see it so many times in a row before I start to just hate everyone.
I don't know why this tradition has lived on, because I completely agree with you. But like, there's this old idea of like, you drop off the tape at the station and they'll run that tape for the next 13 weeks or whatever, right? Like, yeah, that's what you've paid for. We live in an era where you could send them a new ad every hour. Like, and they can run that one. Or like, you're spending money on these productions, especially like a Subway ad, right? Where it's like 2 actors talking and ordering a sandwich or whatever. Like, you have multiple takes of the same ad with slight variations. Give them all of them, and then they randomly roll through them. So even though it's still like the same ad, there's a little variety there. They say it a little different, or they mix it up. Somebody ad-libs something and it's a little funny this time. There's no reason to just hammer home the same thing, because it does build resentment, or in Subway's case in particular, you're too successful. The $5 footlong, every time I walk past the Subway, I think, oh, $5. Oh, they're not $5 anymore. I don't want it.
But they're back. It's not $5 anymore. It's $6.99, but it's still a significant price drop, because they realized nobody's paying $12 for Subway. No one's going to do it.
It was not worth it.
It was barely worth it at $5.
Right?
Like, you bought a $5 footlong, but nobody felt good about that. Nobody walked out of Subway thinking, "Hot damn, I can't wait to eat this."
Got this quote unquote tuna that I get to go eat.
We're pretty sure it's not cat food.
Well, yeah, there's like they hammer home $5 footlong, and now you can't move on from that. That is now it forever, guys.
Did you see? There was it was a couple years ago. There was a story about some company had patented this, and the idea behind the patent was that it was a microphone setup for your television or your computer that when an ad played, the ad would not be dismissed unless you said something back to the TV to indicate that you had watched the ad and consumed the message.
Good.
So it wouldn't be it wouldn't like let you go on with whatever you were doing until you were like, all right, fine. Liberty, 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 liberty. That's the dystopian future right there.
There was a company, I assume they went out of business pretty quickly. Maybe they're still around. There was this idea that they were going to give everybody a free television, but it had baked into it random advertisements that would come up onto the screen that would play over top of whatever you were watching. So it'd like shrink everything down and put ads around the outside, or it would have always on ads. So when you turn the power off, it was always on. But you got like a free $1,000 television. So it's a question of like, how much were you willing to give up? And then people were like, oh, well, I would just like not watch the ads or whatever. And that's what like, but then there's eye tracking technology. And they'd make sure your eyes watched the ads X number of times where the TV would stop working and stuff. Oh, geez. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Just do something like better ads. Like if we're all going to be stuck watching NFL games and college football games, just try just a little harder, just a bit.
Yeah.
Kevin, what's out of your 18?
So I'm still on the Disney mind, guys. I'm sorry. This has been my entire life for the last 8 days. So I will say this: for a theme park in Orlando, Florida, where it was a nice and cool 91 degrees most of the time that we were there, with a humidity level that the app consistently read as 98%, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but I felt it. You know, you feel like you're in water. There is a shocking lack of shade at this park, and that everything, it was sort of built in a what I imagine they thought that they were building this park like in Maine and not in Florida. So there is no consideration to like shade or cooling stations. Water fountains are really hard to find.
You don't say.
They don't treat the water there. So like when you drink it, it tastes like sulfur. It's very weird. It is very, again, a boring dystopia. But I really feel like if climate change is coming, they got to figure something out here, because it is way too hot to be walking down a lot of these paths. A lot of these parts of these parks are going to become like no-go zones, because you will die trying to get from one part of the park to the other.
They need to have those big sunshades like they have over in Dubai.
Yes.
Yes. They come out during the middle of the day.
Some cloud seating or something. Yeah.
Those misting fans like they have on the sidelines of sporting events.
Yes. Literally anything other than just giant, wide avenues with nothing. Just like,
I'm surprised they haven't figured out an answer to this. This seems like something that you would expect Disney would have.
Right.
Like they'd have their top people working on it, like a force field that blocks the heat.
But like, you know what I was thinking too? This is my dumb idea. I would put very large trees in planters, and I'd even be willing to say that they're fake trees that look real. But the idea here is shade coverage. But you put them on planters in large walkways that the planter can then move throughout the day to sort of give you the optimal shade for
so
that
the planter
time.
is always moving to make sure that there's the most shade possible. So it'll move from different sides.
It's moving just a little bit, or even, it's pivoting at the top a little bit, whatever you need. But it's throwing out the optimal shade for a given path.
Yeah. This is the part where I remind people that that the original plan for Epcot at Disney World was to build a dystopian hellscape city that was run by corporations. And then the design was utilized by Squaresoft for Final Fantasy VII for the city of Midgar that the evil Shinra Corporation ran.
It's true. It's true. It is sort of a lost thing that, like, Walt Disney himself had two loves in this world, railroads and World's Fairs, which is a thing that just like doesn't really exist anymore. But this idea that like you go to a place where all of these companies and countries built pavilions, and you'd go to pavilions to see their wares and their shows,
and their accomplishments and what they were doing and what they were working on and what the future was supposed to look like. And it was all narrated by people with mid-Atlantic accents talking about the future on display at Disney World. See the technology of tomorrow.
Once you like see one of those, you're like, oh, it all makes sense now. But without that context, it's bizarre.
Yeah, if you've never seen it and you're like at all interested in any of this, there's a series of YouTube videos that are produced by Walt Disney himself where he explains the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, or Epcot, and it bears no resemblance to what ended up existing because he croaked, and the Disney board of directors were like, you know what, we'd rather just steal money from people on a theme park. We're not into city building and vague world domination things. So there you go. Which is sad. I wish someone would take over his vision because we need more people that are crazy billionaires that are doing things like this.
The closest thing you get these days is they did build the planned town of Celebration, but it's nothing as cool as that. No. And then there's like multi-million-dollar houses in the Golden Oak community. You should look that up sometime. It's weird.
More shade.
Chief, what is more shade? The shade situation is out of my 18. What is going in your 11?
In the 11 is urban development. Because this could have been a segment one thing. Story in the Cincinnati Business Journal. FC Cincinnati to demolish historic beer tunnels for their $300 million mixed-use district. So this is something, Kevin, you've known about for quite some time. I've known about for quite some time. But is now coming to the public forefront. It's one of those things where I think everybody knows about it, but no one's ever confirmed it publicly. Right. And that's that when they were building TQL Stadium, they discovered that there were a lot of the old Cincinnati beer storage caves or basements.
The lagering tunnels, yes.
Lagering tunnels that were beneath the area that TQL Stadium now sits on or adjacent to it. And in fact, when you walk into TQL Stadium, if you go in the Workhorse Gate, I think they still call it. I don't know if that company's gone out of business yet.
Not yet. I think it's still the Workhorse Gate.
Sure. They're in active litigation for something, though, I think.
Yeah.
But if you go in the Workhorse Gate and you sort of look to the left by where the entrance to the parking garage is and the team store, there's an old wall that you can see that's right there. And there's a sort of door that's been put into it that's sealed off. That is one of these giant lagering caverns right there. And there's another one, I think, that is over, and that one's pretty deep, and that stretches, I think, to underneath the street and over by where the old warehouse was that it was demolished. Damn. And so there had been talk at some points about trying to incorporate that space and do something with that to create stadium adjacent space underground. I don't think that's usable, it turns out. And the stadium is now, and this FC Cincinnati development is now looking to demolish everything, fill it in, and because you obviously can't build buildings on top of foundations that are otherwise going to fall in because there's a tunnel there.
Yeah. I know they were going to try to save these at one point, but yeah, it doesn't. I don't know.
How do you feel about this? I know on one hand, there's a preservationist aspect to some of this.
Yeah.
On the other hand, has anyone done anything with these other than Ghost Baby?
Right. That's the thing is like, I have a degree in history. This is certainly my passion, but I do get nervous. I don't like that cities will stop everything to preserve something that was there just because it's old, especially when we have other examples of it. And I think what makes cities and communities and urban spaces more interesting is that there is a mixture of these things. And so we have loggering tunnels and we have new hotels and we have sports stadiums and we have historic churches, and they all sort of live in the same area and they all tell the story of the city. If the goal is just to preserve Cincinnati from 1830 or whatever, then you're not really building a city, you're building a living museum, and you can go walk around historic Williamsburg or whatever and live out that fantasy if you want, I guess. But yeah, I think we're good. I think we got it. I think we can move on.
The what I found was interesting about this as well is that these loggering, it was a loggering, I don't even think it was a tunnel. It was just a loggering cellar is what it was. I don't think it's connected to anything else, but that it was owned by, this is true, Lion Brewing originally.
Wow, that's fun.
That is fun.
They should buy the, I mean, I don't know who exists with that, but they should buy that.
Maybe. They should absolutely buy that if they can and have their own like beer line, Lion Brewing at the stadium. They were planning on doing something with it. I think that got scrapped at some point. The article goes into that a little bit in the Business Courier. If you are a subscriber to the Business Courier, yeah, I mean, at some point you want to save some stuff, other stuff's got to go. And this is turns out just a hole in the ground. Not all holes in the ground are worth saving, I guess. As it turns out. Other bonus in the 11 that's a little more fun. Oktoberfest beers. Had my first Oktoberfest beers of the fall. Always just, they hit different, especially the next day when you've had too many of them. It's a different kind of hangover. It's fun. Kevin, what's in your 11?
Not Disney related, dear God. No, what's in my 11 is this week, Chief. It's Hell is Real.
Oh,
welcome back soccer. MLS is back. Hashtag MLS is back. Let's go. I think I have muted every single Crew fan on Twitter, and I'm ready to get back in this shit.
I was wondering if we were going to talk about this before the end of the show. Are you ready for this for real? Like, I don't know that I'm ready for this week.
I want it. Bring it on. Teenage Hadibi has got our back. We've got the new guy.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. We're on teenage watch right now, right?
He was an unused substitute 2 days ago, as of recording, in a game against Kenya. So
we're watching out for a teenage sighting here in the FC Cincinnati area.
No, to be clear, no, we are not.
Looking out for teenagers is always
no. It is nothing that this podcast does or engages in.
Your source for hot teenage chat.
No, it is not.
You're right. You want this? Like,
bring it on. Because think about it. If we beat them, it'll feel so good.
Yeah, but if we don't,
if we don't, whatever. They were supposed
it'll
to
feel bad. We're missing defenders. It's not right for me right now. I'm not ready for this personally.
So what makes it really fun too, just from like a psychological standpoint, is if they beat us, they also get to go ahead of us on the table for, I think, the first time of the season. Mm-hmm. But if we beat them, they don't.
Bengals, loss. UC Bearcats, loss. It's not looking too good in Cincinnati sports
right
now.
The Reds, I assume, have lost
They
recently.
They always lose. Yeah. They're just losers in life. I don't know, man. Does this feel different? This Hell is Real week from other Hell is Real weeks. Are you looking at this any different? Is there anything about this that you're looking at or you're processing, or where's your headspace at going into this?
So this is where I'm at with it. The FC was a little discombobulated going into Leagues Cup and coming out of Leagues Cup. But I think we all sort of understood what was going on. And against Montreal, without Lucho, team looked pretty good. Looked like some things are coming together. The issues on the back line, yes, they've got some key guys out with yellow card suspension, but they got some new guys coming in, some pretty good guys coming in on this team. Potentially you have a healthier Lucho. We definitely will have a healthier Assad. We've got all of a sudden a Sergio Santos and Kevin Kelsey and Yuya Kubo. They can't stop scoring goals. This is a fun time to be a fan of the strikers. I think we catch them at a good time. They're coming off a bad loss. I think only their third loss ever at home under Wilfried Nancy, 4-0. We got them at a weak moment. We're on the upswing. They're on the downswing. Eventually, all of their games were going to catch up to them. I like our chances.
I just don't like this week.
What's the problem I have with this week is I used all of my best material last game.
Yeah.
Can I just go back and retweet all of my own tweets?
Since the last game, they've added another trophy to their cabinet.
Yeah. Did they? What did they do?
Yeah, the Leagues Cup.
Oh, whatever. Nobody cares about Leagues Cup.
We're a Leagues Cup podcast. We like the Leagues Cup.
Shit.
We're always saying this.
Well, we both won the same number of CONCACAF Champions League titles, so
yeah, that's true. That's about it. Once they get that, that's the last jewel in the Thanos glove for them.
God damn it.
Yeah.
No, we'll be all right. I still think we finish ahead of them on the table. There you go. There's your bold take for the episode.
Well, we'll have to start this week.
Let's do it. Look, this is the moment. 7 games left. The surge is happening. This is how this team rides the wave into the playoffs. Everybody firing on all cylinders. It starts here. It starts this week. This is the moment. We get to have them at our place, embarrass them, send them back to Columbus. I like where we're at.
I wish I had your optimism. I've been down this road before and I've been hurt before. And hurt people. We know this. I'm not ready. I don't want this. I don't need this. I don't like this.
It's going to be fun.
I've been telling myself this is future me's problem for a real long time. And now it's future me right now. But this Columbus match was...
Somewhere out there is a Columbus Crew podcast filming in away days in Cincinnati.
And having just the best time ever every time they come here.
No.
Just the best time. They're all like, they show up to film away days and their high five is like, hey, remember the time we won the Eastern Conference Final? We got beers here afterwards. Hell yeah. High five.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they walk around Cincinnati and realize how much FCC gear and signage is up and around, and they're like, oh wow, this city actually likes this team.
That's the only thing I can hold on to. The only thing I can hold on to is that I know it has to bother them as Crew fans that nobody outside of Crew fans cares in Columbus. Whereas there are a ton, you walk around Cincinnati, there's a ton of people who would never listen to a podcast, that aren't season ticket holders, that go to 1 or 2 matches a year but still rock a shirt or a hat. And you never see that in Columbus. And that has to bother them, right?
Has to. Look, the fact that we exist as a team is proof that they failed. They were supposed to be Ohio's team, and they didn't get the job done. So here we are.
Yeah. But they're all happy because Michigan lost too. So like they're just riding a high in Columbus right now. Their real love.
Their real sporting interest went their way. So the 4-0 loss to Crew or to Sounders, whatever, that doesn't matter. It's the Buckeyes, it's the Wolverines.
Yeah. Are you Satterfield out, by the way?
I was never Satterfield in. What the hell were they doing? And then the contract they signed, who were we negotiating against? What was happening?
They wanted him out at Louisville. Like, how did we end up paying this much of a how is his buyout so high?
Look, if that was the contract that they offered, like Marcus Freeman, which I understand it's a rough week to be mentioning that, but like it would make sense. Satterfield, come on, man. It's not even like one of those like MAC coaches that has like, we're going to throw the ball 700 times or whatever. It's like, it didn't even have a gimmick. It's just a boring old coach.
Just a boring coach that sounds like a used car salesman. He should be running for Congress.
God, the God love my little Bearcat fan base. They all got hyped on a fucking transfer from Indiana at quarterback. It's like, yo, guys, just on paper, just say that out loud to yourself. He wasn't good enough for Indiana. All right.
No, we paid him more. We got that Bearcat. We got that Cincy Light Lager money now burning a hole in our pocket.
And that's who we spent our money on. Cool. All right, sure. Why not?
Hey, I guess if you want to look at the bright side,
what's that?
The Bengals lost, the Bearcats lost. They're just getting it out. We're just getting it out of our system as a city before a big weekend next weekend.
This is FC Cincinnati's moment in this city to grab hold of the fall sports schedule and sort of moment. This is it. This is
like Cody Rhodes. It's time to finish your story right here.
Yeah. Let's do it.
God, all right, I'm back in. Fun. And on that note, go fuck yourself, Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati and, like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.